Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. So before we get started with the actual tour, I just wanted to quickly pop in here and say hi and film an intro because I actually did not film one when I was in the process of filming this tour, and I honestly don't know why that is. I think I just got caught up in packing and I just completely forgot. So that's why I'm jumping in here to say hey and to do that now. But I also wanted to quickly go over a few things before we really get into the tour. I'm so sorry, you guys can see my tags. The next thing that I wanted to say is that I am so sorry if any of the footage for this tour is a little bit janky or a little bit off or just kind of unhinged. I honestly had no creative direction in terms of filming this video because I watched a few other people's bookshelf tours and I just couldn't decide on what style of bookshelf tour that I really liked. The good news is that I only have 2 bookshelves, so it's not that long, hopefully. I do add commentary to the books that are my favorites, more so than anything else. So hopefully you guys don't mind. But of course, in the future, when I do film an updated bookshelf tour, I would definitely make sure I spend time on brainstorming how I want the video to turn out, so that way I'm not just like walking you through every single book, you know? Another thing that I wanted to add is that I'm not gonna lie to y'all, a lot of my bookshelves are really dusty and I'm so sorry. I did not go through them and clean them like I should have, and again, I apologize. If you guys live in an apartment or a house that has wooden floors, then you know. And also with just moving, there's just so much going on right now, so again, I'm really sorry, but like please bear with me. I try not to get super close and, you know, zoom in on all of that, but yeah, I can't edit that out, so I'm sorry. I'm already starting off this video a hot mess express, but you guys know that this is how we do it on this channel. Very, you know, unfiltered for the most part, very casual considering like blog style videos, which is what this is. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely let me know if you have any questions about any products that I feature in this video, like the products that are on my bookshelf. If I haven't linked to anything that you are looking for, like I said, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to let you know the name of where I got it from, or hopefully provide you with the link. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you at the end. Okay, so starting with this shelf right here, like I mentioned to you guys before, this was supposed to be a women's literary bookshelf, or like a bookshelf that had books written by or about women, and that just didn't happen because I have way too many books. Right here you can see I have 2 piles of books. I have classics and I also have special editions of books. So we're going to start with the classics first. And right here you can see that I do have a candle and it says old books, and I actually got this from an Etsy shop, and I just thought that this would make sense to go on top of classics since, you know, old books. I will leave the seller's shop link down below just in case you guys are interested in checking out this candle. She does have other candles with different titles, like I know she has one that says The Library and just other stuff like that. But again, I just thought that this made sense and was on brand with the whole classics theme that I have going on here. I never lit it. This is purely for decoration. Now getting into the actual stack here. So as you can see, I do have classics all written by women, so Joan Lindsay, Nella Larson, Jane Austen, Louisa May Alcott, Elizabeth Gaskell, Kate Chopin, and that's pretty much it over here. I have not read any of these yet, with the exception of Passing. That is the only book that I've read so far, and I know I'm falling really behind. I'm hoping that I can read Picnic at Hanging Rock during like the spooky season, because that is like a classic thriller or a horror book. That's pretty much the stack over here. And then moving on to one of my favorite stacks. So like I mentioned before, this is my special edition stack, and I actually got this bust from Anthropologie, and it's actually not even a bust really, it's a plant holder, but I could never find a plant that would fit well in there, so I just leave it as is. And honestly, I love her and she definitely will be coming with me to my new place. Then moving on to the actual stack, right here you can see I have the special edition of The Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. I also have another edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray because I am obsessed with this book. I have a special edition of The Phantom of the Opera, which is another classic that I love. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, which I actually never read. Love the movie, but never read the book. And then of course I have the special edition of The Song of Achilles because duh. So that is this stack over here, and it's not my favorite setup, but it works for the time being. Now moving on to the first shelf. So as you can see here, this shelf is pretty bare, and that's because I actually just did an entire book unhaul not too long ago. I will leave that video linked up above just in case you missed it, but that's why this shelf looks a little sad. But this shelf was actually supposed to be dedicated to memoirs written by women or just books written about women in history, and it is that to an extent, but it's also not that at the same time. As you can see, I have the 1619 Project, Becoming Michelle, Beautiful Country, My Body, some of Hillary Clinton's books, as well as Brain on Fire. I also have some books on immigration, so In the Country We Love, My Family Divided. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Definitely recommend picking this up if you are interested in those topics, because Diane Guerrero is a queen and I just loved every single thing about this story. It was heartbreaking, it was gut-wrenching, but it was so inspiring inspiring and so moving that everyone should pick this book up at some point. And I also have To Selena with Love by Chris Perez. So this is the book that is actually written by a man, but this is written by Selena's husband, and this is actually my favorite book of all time. I'm not going to go into why it's my favorite book because I do have a few videos where I talk about it, so definitely make sure you check out those videos. I will link them up in the cards somewhere or down below in the description box. But love Selena, love this book. It means everything to me, and I 1000% recommend. And then I also have Lauren Graham's memoir, which is Talking as Fast as I Can. And like most people, I love Gilmore Girls and I love Lauren Graham. So definitely wanted to pick that up, but just haven't read it yet. And then I also have The Diary of Anne Frank, which I read in 8th grade, but I would like to reread it again in my adulthood, just to pick up on things that I didn't pick up on when I was in 8th grade, but to also, you know, have a newfound appreciation for it. And then right here, I have this like makeshift book stopper. It's not really even a book stopper. It's literally like a jewelry case, but it's Juicy Couture, as you can tell. I am a huge pink girl. I love the color pink, as you can see. And Juicy Couture is like one of my favorite brands, regardless, don't care. So I saw this on Depop, had to get it, and I had nowhere to put it. So I just put it on this bookshelf to stop these books from falling. And that is the shelf. Okay, and now moving on to my second shelf here. So as you can see, this one is a little bit more fleshed out, but not really. Right here, I have my Jade Bratz doll. Yes, I do have Bratz dolls on my shelf. I grew up with Bratz, and Bratz were my favorite dolls ever. So once I saw that they were being re-released, I knew I had to get them and put them on my bookshelf because I'm clearly 8 years old. Right here, I just have a hodgepodge of books, honestly. Again, this shelf has become a catch-all for books that I just could not fit onto my main shelf or on my TBR cart because I've either already read them or I just don't feel like reading them right now. Right here, I have some nonfiction reads, so Men Who Hate Women, Hood Feminism. I also have a thriller, which is A Flicker in the Dark. I have some romance, so 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Catherine House, which is I think like a sci-fi dark academia type of book. And then I also have some women's literary fiction, so My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, which I read, and I still think about that book to this day. Wasn't my favorite read, but like, I still think about it. Can't explain it. I also have this book called She Must Be Mad by Charlie Cox. Honestly, I have no idea what this book is about, but I purchased it off of Depop because I love the cover. And then right here, I also have Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I actually really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I read it last year. I thought it was a quirky, cute little novel. Right here, I have my entire Beverly Jenkins collection with the exception of one book, because one book, which is called Jewel, is actually on my TBR cart. When I actually do have all of my Beverly Jenkins books together, I love it. This is the best I could organize it by color, even though it still looks a little bit wonky, but this is what I had to work with. But yeah, love this collection, cherish it with everything in me, and I have read Something Like Love, Night Song, and Through the Storm so far, and I have loved every single one of those books. Gave all of them a 5 out of 5 star because that's what they deserve, and I'm sure I'm gonna give the rest of her books 5 out of 5 stars as well. I actually filmed an entire Beverly Jenkins book collection / book haul video, so that probably won't go out until after this video. Definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications because that video will be coming out at some point. And that is this shelf right here. Okay guys, I'm gonna try to show this as best as possible. I have like all these boxes behind me, so it's kind of tight, but hopefully you guys can still get a good view of the shelf. So as you can tell, I like a lot of knickknacks and Funko Pops and just random shit on my bookshelves. It just makes it more fun and more lively for me. I'll start off with those first. So I have my Selena Funko Pop right here, and you're probably wondering why I don't have it on the top shelf with that other book, and that's just because I didn't want it right there. I don't know how to describe it. I just wanted it right here, so she's right here. And I also have my entire Clueless Funko Pop set, which I'm really happy about and really proud of. And they're actually sitting on top of all in my fashion books, so I just felt like it made sense. And we will get into this stack soon, but just wanted to give you an overview of my little Funko Pops. Starting with this section over here, again, catch-all. It's a hodgepodge of books and genres. So I have a few thrillers, Everything We Didn't Say, which is actually one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I love this book and I cannot wait to read more by Nicole Bart at some point. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I did. And then also another one of my favorite thrillers, Never Saw Me Coming by Barry Kurian. I actually filmed a reading vlog on this. One of my favorite psychological thrillers that I've ever read. I also have White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson, Hunted by Darcy Coates, which I have not read yet, but I hope to get to it at some point. I know that Erin from Erin Megan loves Darcy Coates, so I definitely want to give this a try at some point, so that way I can definitely talk to her about my thoughts on this book. And then I also have Gone Girl, which like hello classic, and then I have You by Caroline Kepnes. Actually, I've not read these at all. I've watched the show, love it, watched the movie, loved it, but I have not read these, and I got these because I wanted to read these and compare these to the book and the TV show, but just haven't gotten around to it. And then I have a few romances, as you can see. I have Tokyo Ever After, which I loved. I have The Perfect Date, which I have not read yet, Dating Dr. Dill. And then I also have You Had Me Out Hola and A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria. And you guys know how I feel about Alexis Daria as an author, as well as the Primas of Power series. I love Alexis Daria as an author, so not gonna get into my full thoughts. Pick up these books if you haven't already, because these are great romance books and I just love the cover art. Like, let's get into it. The cover art, phenomenal. Like, absolutely stunning. Okay, and now moving on to my fashion section. Now I'm gonna let you guys know right now, I don't want to get too close because my bookshelves are actually pretty dusty and I'm so sorry about that. But here we are. So like I already told you guys, I have the Clueless set right here, and then right here is all my fashion books. So I am not a fashion critic like Luke from Halt in the Mode. I am not him at all. I'm not a fashion critic by any means, but I will sit down and watch the Met Gala and, you know, give my little opinions here and there when the girlies are not on theme. For the most part, the reason why I'm like obsessed with fashion is more so the history behind it and how it became what it became today, and also just watching and seeing people style different outfits, make different looks, etc. I just find that process so interesting and fascinating, and I just love fashion. I have Notes on Camp by Susan Sontag, and this is actually one of those like little Penguin modern classic books, which I love. I want to get more of them, but this book just pretty much just talks about, you know, notes on camp. What classifies something as camp? Why do we say certain things are camp, etc., etc. I actually read that last year. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I really enjoyed it, and I felt like I learned a lot about camp because I'm one of those people that will call a lot of things that are objectively bad camp. Also have the OG of fashion books, It by Alexa Chung, if you know you know. And then I also have a memoir here which is called I'll Drink to That by Betty Halbreich. And Betty Halbreich was actually a personal shopper for Bergdorf Goodman, and she just talks about her experiences working with certain celebrities and stars and how she was able to curate perfect looks for those clients, and I just thought that was interesting. And then I also have probably one of my favorite books right here, and it's called You Know You Want It by Eric Damon. And Eric Damon is actually either the main costume designer or one of the like co-costume designers of Gossip Girl. And there's actually a foreword by Leighton Meester in here, who plays Blair Waldorf in the show Gossip Girl. So for those of you who are new, who stumbled upon this video, Gossip Girl is actually my favorite TV show of all time. So that is why I have this book on my bookshelf. Okay, and that is the entire first bookshelf, and I took you guys shelf by shelf, as you can see right here. Okay, so now I am on to my main shelf, and this is actually the top of my main shelf. This is my Gossip Girl book collection with my Blair and Serena Funko Pops. I don't know why Serena looks kind of wonky. Yeah, not gonna spend too much time on this, but here you go. Moving on to my first shelf. So as you can see, these are all of my black books or books that have black spines, or just a random hodgepodge of Hunger Games crap over here. I do have Hunger Games Funko Pops because the Hunger Games trilogy is actually my favorite trilogy and series of all time, specifically YA series, I guess I'll say. So I do have Girl on Fire, Katniss Everdeen Funko Pop. I also have Katniss Everdeen as the Mockingjay Funko Pop, and then I also have Peeta as Peeta in the first Hunger Games book and movie as, you know, a tribute. So yeah, those are all of my Funko Pops right here. So before any of you come at me, know that these are paperback and this is a hardcover, but as y'all know, there is no paperback for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes yet. So I had no choice but to just get this and have this blend in with it. Honestly, because I think there is a resurgence, or there's about to be a resurgence of the Hunger Games, I feel like all of these little box sets are pretty expensive now, so I'm annoyed about that because I actually wanted these special edition versions of the Hunger Games with like the white and gold covers, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. But anyways, this is my collection right here. I have, of course, read all of these. I've read all of these for the first time when they first debuted. I do plan on rereading these at some point, and I read the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes last year, I think July. I think I read this in July. I think this is one of the first books that I actually read and posted about on my Bookstagram when I first created my account, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed the story. I know a lot of people didn't, but I really liked it, and it's still F President Snow, period. I'm moving on to the rest of the books on the shelves. So right here, I just have a hodgepodge of different books in different genres. So I have a collection of short stories, Blackout, have some YA books, so The Black Kids, have this beautiful edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray, which I showed in my recent book haul video, and I just love this. I definitely want to have this displayed at some point, but again, right now, it's not likely, but hopefully when I get some new shelves, I can. I also have some thrillers, so The Lake. I have a romance book called Intercepted, which reminds me of the show The Game, if you know, you know. And then I have some classics right here, so some Edgar Allan Poe, Oscar Wilde, Gaston Leroux. I also have more thrillers and horror books, so The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor. I have one fantasy book on this shelf, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which I have not read yet, guys. I don't know when I will actually get to this book because I'm not a fantasy girly, but we will see. And then I also have this nonfiction book, which is a collection of notes and poems, which is titled The Dreamin Generation by Elizabeth Alexander. I also showed this in my book haul video, but yeah, really excited to read that at some point. And before we move on with this book stack, I just wanted to show you this candle that I got from Etsy. I will leave the seller in the shop link down below if I can find it, but this is the Sanderson Sisters Black Flame Candle Company, and I'm a huge fan of Hocus Pocus, the movie, so I had to get this and put it on my black bookshelf because I just felt like it made sense with a lot of the thrillers and, you know, all of that stuff. So now moving on to the stack. So again, hodgepodge of things. I have some classics like A Raisin in the Sun, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Lord of the Flies, one of my favorite classics actually, Macbeth, which is actually my favorite Shakespeare play, and I love this Pelican edition. Guys, look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. I love this edition. Will I ever reread Macbeth? Have no idea, but I needed this edition anyway. I also have Pygmalion, which is another one of my favorite plays, and then I have Confessions, Watching You, Then She Was Gone, so some more thrillers, Black Buck, and then I also have this nonfiction read, which is called The Night Stalker, The Life and Crimes of Richard Ramirez. I read this book earlier this year in January, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This was such a terrifying yet compulsive novel that I've ever read. Philip Carlo is an amazing storyteller, and I definitely recommend picking up this book if you are interested in learning more about Richard Ramirez. To me, he is the scariest serial killer that I've ever read about. It was very triggering. Definitely make sure you have a stomach of steel before you go into this because Philip Carlo does not hold back. And that is my first shelf. Now moving on to the second shelf, which is actually one of my favorite shelves because I just love this blue color. So again, more knickknacks because you guys know me. So I have my Chloe Bratz doll right here, and I actually just moved her over here from the first shelf. So she's sitting pretty over here. And then I also have a picture of me meeting the rapper Lotto, aka Big Lotto. If you guys know, you know. I actually met her a couple weeks back at one of her meet and greets at her Philly concert, and I was obsessed. And she's one of my favorite rappers. Love her. Very sweet woman. Definitely make sure you guys stream 777. That is the album. Okay, period. Okay, so right here, these are all of my blue and like greenish books. So that's why some of these just kind of look out of order or random, but I have some literary fiction, so Olga Dies Dreaming, thrillers, No Exit, Survive the Night, Good Rich People, Such a Quiet Place, Mexican Gothic, some romance, If the Shoe Fits. I also have the If I Stay series, which I have never read, but I loved the movie when I was younger. I wanted to buy these to see if I could actually like read them and see if they're very similar to the movie, but I never read them. But I still want to keep them because I might want to read them at some point, I don't know, but I just love the movie so much, so yeah. And then I also have An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. I actually just finished this book last week, and spoiler alert, I loved it. You guys are giving it low reviews for whatever reason, I don't know, but like good, more for me because I love the book. And I also have some more romances as you can see here, so It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I also have 2 other fantasy books on here, and I think that this is it in terms of fantasy on my bookshelf. Kind of, maybe, I don't know. But Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. This is a series, and it is Coin Project Runway meets Mulan, so yeah, that's why I got it. I have not read it yet, but hopefully soon. And then this stack right here is just random books. So Stephen King, The Long Walk, which is actually one of my favorite horror novels and my favorite Stephen King novel. As of right now, I have only read one, which is The Long Walk, but I hope to read more soon at some point. Maybe The Shining will be next, I don't know. But yeah. And then I have another edition of Little Women. I really like this. I think it is really pretty. It's actually in brand new condition, and I got this from Thrift Books. And this was not the edition that I was supposed to be sent, and I love this, but I don't want to read from it because it's so nice and I don't want it to get ruined. So that's why I bought the Penguin Black Spine Classics edition for Little Women, so I could read from there and annotate there whenever I do read this, and just keep this all nice and pristine because it's really pretty. And then I have another thriller, so The Night Before, The Song of Achilles, duh, The Worst Best Man, yep, love it, Dead Dead Girls, which I have not read yet, but I actually did just get an arc for the second book in the series, so I definitely should read this at some point and see what it's giving. And then I have Beachery, which is another one of my favorite romances of all time. I have So You Want to Talk About Race. I felt like this was a necessary book just to have on my bookshelf, just in case I have friends that come over that want to take a look at my shelves and they want to pick up one of these type of books. I feel like this is very accessible, so why not? I have Madame Bovary, and I have not read this yet. This is a classic. I have another one of my favorite books of all time, which will be featured in my 2022 favorites video at the end of the year, and it is You Reach Sam. And this is my second bookshelf. Now moving on to my third bookshelf. We are almost done, you guys. So as you can see here, this is probably actually like my second favorite, or maybe my first. We'll say that, because like color wise, this is my favorite, and these are all in my red and pink books. Starting over here, I do have a Britney Spears Funko Pop, and this is actually a Funko Pop inspired by her Oops, I Did It Again music video, which is like iconic. Now moving on to one of my favorite Bratz dolls out of the bunch, and it is Yasmin. So I have her sitting pretty over here with the pink books because, you know, her outfit matches, so it made sense. But yeah, I kept it somewhat simple on the shelf in terms of knickknacks. Okay, so starting with the red book, so right here you can see Ace of Spades is pretty much stealing the show because I love this cover, okay? Farida Abike Ayamide and her cover illustrator did what they had to do because, wow, absolutely stunning. Cannot stop looking at it. I read this book last year. I gave it, I think, a what did I give this book? I think I gave it a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5 stars. I know that there are some people that are now giving it kind of like negative reviews and they're seeing some like problems with it, but like I enjoyed it, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Now moving on to the rest of the red books. So as you can see, I have another YA book here, which is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. Love her in this book. I also have The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp. Have not read that. I have YA/historical fiction, and it is Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. Love this book, gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It made it onto my favorites list of last year. I also have 2 classics randomly thrown in here, but you know, they fit the red vibe. They are Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston and Beloved by Toni Morrison. I have read Their Eyes Were Watching God a couple of weeks ago and I loved it, gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I still have yet to read Beloved. I do plan on reading that at some point, just don't know when. Moving on to the thriller and horror books. So I do have The Chain, I have Dracula, The Last Flight, and The Family Tree. I loved The Last Flight, gave that a 5 out of 5 stars. That's actually one of my favorite thrillers of all time. Moving on to the pink books. So I have One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. She is also the author of The Perfect Marriage, which I also have on my bookshelf, and I will show that later. I have Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. Gave this a 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was great, loved it, fun, camp. And I also have Sex and the City and Us, and this is just a book that pretty much just talks about why Sex and the City was the zeitgeist that it was and why it became such a cultural phenomenon and the psychology behind it. And then I also have Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, which you guys know if you watch my videos consistently that I read this book back in February and I gave it a 4.5 I think out of 5 stars, or 4 out of 5 stars, not really sure. It's been a minute, but I did enjoy this book and I'm actually reading Black Girls Must Be Magic now. I also have this red book, which I just realized should not be over here. Wow, okay, I'm gonna have to move this, but I have Kim Ji-young, born 1982. Have not read this one, but I know that this is like a feminist novel. I have Rise to the Sun, which I read last year, gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I enjoyed this story. I thought it was really cute. And then I also have We Should All Be Miranda's, which is another Sex and the City book, because if you couldn't tell, I really enjoy Sex and the City. And then I have a copy of Pride and Prejudice, which I have not read yet. And then I also have Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey over here. Okay, and that is my third shelf. And as you guys can see, I moved Kim Ji-young, born 1982, over to the red books, so we're good to go. So the lighting for this one is going to be a bit weird because I do have boxes covering, you know, some of the lighting, which is annoying, but hey. So this is my sad yellow and orange book collection. I actually had way more than this, but again, that unhaul really did a number on my yellow and orange books. So that's why this section looks really sad and bare. But starting with the knickknacks again. Right here, you can see that this is a Dundie Award. So The Office is actually my second favorite TV show of all time, and when I saw this on Amazon, I knew I had to get it because, hello, The Office, come on. And right here is just a pumpkin design candle that I got from Target last fall, and it smells heavenly, so I kept it over here to actually hold up all of these books, as you can see, but I also just, you know, put it over here because it fits with the color scheme. Then right here I have my other favorite Bratz doll out of the bunch, and it is Sasha, and of course I have her on the shelf because of her orange and, you know, yellow-ish outfit, so that is why she is over here. As you can see over here, this is another shelf again that has a lot of random genres and books on it. I know that this probably really does bother people that organizes their books by, you know, genre or just a certain system, and I'm so sorry if this is triggering you, but this is how it works for me. And I just love organizing my shelves by color. That's just what I like to do. It just looks cute to me, so that's why I do it. I do have a few book of the month picks, so for some reason this doesn't have the book of the month logo, but I did get this from there, and this is The People We Keep, which is a coming of age story that I have not read yet, but I hope to read it soon. Reckless Girls, one of my favorite thrillers. It was camp. Where the Crawdads Sing, one of my favorite books of all time, 5 out of 5 stars, can't wait for the movie. And this is actually my original copy of The Hate U Give, and I feel like you can tell because it's kind of like beat up and tattered, but that's how you know that this book was well loved, and I will never get rid of it because collector's edition. But I got this when it first debuted, so hey, it's a relic. I also have some women's like literary fiction slash like I guess fantastical elements, so One Italian Summer, which I don't know if I will read that, but I still have it here just in case. The Impossible Things, which I actually received not too long ago from Grand Central. Sweet Hand, one of my favorite romances. The Dating Playbook, which I have not read yet because apparently this is, I think, the second book in a series. And I did not read the first one, so I'm gonna have to get the first book and read those because that doesn't make any sense. And then I have Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is one of my favorite romances that I read this year. Love Danny, love Zafir. I also have The Last Tang Standing. Have not read that. I have Rebecca, which is the classic, and I need to get to this soon because as you can see on the spine, it says the classic tale of romantic suspense. I need to get to that because that is like everything that I love in my books. And then I also have another classic over here, which is one of my favorite classics, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I read that in high school and I really enjoyed it. Even though it was sad and there were some problematic things with it, I still really enjoyed the story. And then I also have some Spanish vocabulary books over here that I had left over from college because I did take Spanish my last couple of years during my undergrad journey. And I do have dreams of becoming fluent one day. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I still have these just in case. And this is my 4th bookshelf. Okay guys, and this is my last bookshelf on my main shelf. So the 5th one, and as you can see, again, kind of dusty. I'm very sorry about that. Ugh. And the shelf kind of looks, again, pretty sad and a little disorganized, and that's because a lot of the books that were on the shelf are now on my TBR cart, so that's kind of what's going on here. But I only have one knickknack on this shelf, which I'm proud of. It's very chaotic considering I have like at least 2 on every other shelf, but that's just kind of how we do things over here. So as you can see, I do have an Aaliyah Funko Pop right here, and I have her with the rest of my white and beige books. As you can see, I have, again, hodgepodge of books. So I have a nonfiction read, so this is The Marathon Don't Stop, and this is a book about Nipsey Hussle and his life. And I also have some thrillers, Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is one of my favorites. I have The Newcomer by Mary Kay Andrews. I actually got this book a year ago from Target, and I know this because this was one of the first books that I bought to fill out my bookshelf. And I still have not read it, so yikes. I also have the first book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I have not read this yet, and I know a lot of people really love this series, but I don't know, I just never picked this book up, and I don't want to get rid of it just yet because I feel like there is a possibility that one day I will pick it up, but right now I just don't really want to. And I also have the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy, and I have tried to read these books, and honestly, I cannot get behind the writing style, so I just decided to not even try to read these. I love the movies, I love Lana Condor, so I was like, you know what, if I ever want to get my To All the Boys I Loved Before fix, I'll just watch the Netflix adaptations. I still really love the book cover art, so I wanted to keep these because they're just really pretty. And again, I love the movies, they're my favorites. Like, I love that series, so it's fine, it's fine. And then I also have another thriller, so The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. She is the same author that wrote One of Us is Dead, which I showed earlier on my pink shelf, my pink and red shelf. And then I also have In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Have not read that. When the Reckoning Comes, one of my favorite horror books I have ever read. Definitely recommend picking this up if you are interested in horror, but also social commentary and social horror because, oof, that book was amazing. I also have a classic right here, which is The Lady's Paradise by Emily Zola, and that's a book that pretty much just talks about the rise of the department store and why so many people think that women love department stores and all of that. And right next to it, I actually have the complete box set of the Junie B. Jones Kindergartner collection, guys. Yes, I do have a children's book collection on my bookshelf, and I have no regrets because this is the series that actually got me into reading and what sparked my love for reading. Remember when my mom picked up Junie B. Jones and the Stupid Smelly Bus and gave it to me as a kid, and I remember I read it and I flew through it. I loved Junie B. Jones as a character. I thought she was so funny, so sassy, and just so like witty for a kindergartner. I loved her. And I know a lot of people now, like a lot of parents do not like, you know, Junie B. Jones's like sassiness. I loved her, okay? That was my girl. I loved Junie B. Jones. So I knew that I had to put this on my bookshelf because it's a good keepsake, but also just a great reminder of where I came from, where I started, and what really got me into reading as much as I do now. So yeah, I just really love this series, and I definitely plan on getting the complete box set of the Magic Treehouse series because that was another children's book that I fell in love with and that really made me want to read everything out there. So yeah, but right now I have the Junie B. Jones series, and I'm really happy about that. Oh, and if I had to say which one was my favorite book, I would say it is Junie B. Jones and the Mushy Gushy Valentine. Let's see if I can get this out because y'all see this is kind of packed tight in there. Oh, I got it. This is actually my favorite Junie B. Jones book. Don't ask me why, but this is my favorite one. I love the cover art, and I just thought that this book was so cute and funny when I first read it. But yes, I love these editions. And RIP to the legend, the icon, the GOAT, Barbara Park. Okay, and then the last books that I have over here is It by Stephen King, and I have not read this yet because, as you guys can see, this book is hella long. It is like, I think 1,000-something pages. I don't know when or if I'll ever get to this, but I found this at the thrift store and I couldn't pass it up because it was pretty cheap, so I was like, why not? So I got it. And the last book that I have on this shelf is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and this is actually my boyfriend's copy, but he just let me put it on my bookshelf because, again, I needed some books to fill up the space. But I do plan on reading this at some point. I just don't know when. But yeah, this is his copy. But I appreciate him for giving this to me so that way I have, like, you know, another book to fill out this shelf. And this is this shelf. And honestly, after going through it with you guys, it looks a lot neater, doesn't it? I know. So yeah, that's clearly all I needed. There we go. Looks a lot neater. So I am going to show my TBR cart very quickly, so here's an overview. All of these stickers I've gotten from Etsy, by the way. And I did get this TBR cart from Michael's. I always have a link down below. All right, y'all, and that is my bookshelf tour. So like I mentioned all throughout the video, I really hope that when I move into my new place, I can really like redo my shelves and revamp my shelves because I don't like how they look currently. So I'm just really hoping that I can do something different with them and make it a bit more organized, but also still keeping true to myself in terms of organizing them by color. So we will see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me and my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Storygraph as well as Bookstagram. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!